And what's his time? 20 minutes? 10
Yes,
minutes?
20 minutes.
Very good.
Okay. Hello, everybody. My name is Glenn, and I am Powerless Over Food. And I have been in the program since February of 1991. And I have currently just about 30 years of abstinence, and I maintain about 130-pound weight loss. I came into the program pretty much just a very, very broken person. I had up until the time I came in, I had about I think about 4 to 5 years of bulimia, but for the most part, my whole time was just binge eating my brains out. I mean, I grew up as an obese kid, and food was everything to me. I mean, I used food to be my best friend. It was my confidant. It was everything because I was maladapted to life. I mean, problem with me was I couldn't. I don't know. For some reason, I just didn't know how to get along with other people. I stayed close to home because being in school, I didn't know how to get along with other kids very well, and I don't know exactly why, but I got teased a lot too. And when I got teased, I found food would help me to feel better. And my mother used to feed me, and my grandmother used to feed me, and I just absolutely loved the food. Food just it lit up all my lights, and so I ate a lot of it. And as I ate, the more that I ate, I withdrew, and I became a major isolator. And so that made me, and because I didn't know how to deal with the world, I learned how to, I just learned how to just hide in the food. And this went on until I was about 15, and I avoided life activities, I avoided people, and I never learned how to deal with my feelings. It was just an onslaught of food, and just a lot of emotional pain. And so I lost weight on my own in my junior year of high school. I just decided I got tired of being, fat and teased, and I thought if I lost weight, all my problems would be solved. I mean, I thought people would start to like me. I thought, I could find girls to go out with, or and so I set about on my own my way on my own diet. I basically created I'll call it, well, I do call it the Glenn's anorexic version of weight loss. And I went from me binging on things like just super high calorie fat foods. I ate a lot of fast foods. I was binging on high sugar items, and I went from that to just drinking black coffee and eating an occasional grapefruit and things like that. And so I starved my way down over about a 2-year period from 270 pounds down to 160. And I thought, and like I said, I thought that if I lost weight, everything would be solved. Well, I went from being fat unhappy to thin unhappy because nothing really changed. I mean, I was still me. I didn't, nothing inside was any different. And so, this really, I mean, it kind of just, it really upset me. And I went back to the eating, and I couldn't stop, and it got even worse than before. And then when I was eating to the point where I couldn't even hold any more food, I learned how to throw up to get rid of it because I was in so much pain, physical discomfort. And what happened was that that took on a life of its own because I was able to eat tens of thousands of calories. And what I was doing is I was going around to convenience stores, driving around in my car, and just, I would fill up on all the worst stuff, just straight sugar foods. And then I would get rid of it at some point when I got completely full and couldn't take any more. And then I would go out and I would continue eating. And it went on until I was completely physically exhausted and didn't have any more energy. And then I would collapse into my bed at night. And because of that, I had to keep eating too. I mean, the food became a necessity. I couldn't not overeat. So and along with all the eating, my self-esteem, which was already low, it dropped, and it plummeted into nothing. And I hated myself, and I couldn't see any reason to live. I mean, it was just so, life was just way too painful for me. And I contemplated suicide, and I thought about it so much that I ended up with a plan. And for some reason, I saw a 1-800-crisis line in the Philadelphia Inquirer, and it said, you know, if you have a problem with alcoholism, drug addiction, anorexia, bulimia, suicide, all this stuff, you know, just call that number. And I ended up calling it and I described to, and it was a referral service. And they listened to me and took some of my information, and they gave me the number of an eating disorder therapist in downtown Philadelphia. And I think I called it like within a few days later or something like that. And it was a woman, and she said sometime, and I kind of just like laid it out to her what I was doing, and she said to me, have you ever heard of Overeaters Anonymous? And I said yes, because one time when I was a kid, I remember seeing a commercial for it. I was maybe like 10, 12 years old at the most, and there was a commercial on TV. And this was probably like around 1975, and the only thing that I remember was it was kind of like just like a blue, it was all silhouette, like a dark blue background with a black head, and you could see the eyes, and the head turned sideways, so it was in profile, and out of the eye, a tear came down the face. And I remember the announcer saying, "You never have to overeat ever again." I never thought about that another time in my life until that day she said, "Have you ever heard of Overeaters Anonymous?" So I said yes. Well, she said, and I don't remember if she said, well, if you're going to be a client of mine, I'm going to require you to go, or that I suggest that you go. But anyways, I ended up in my first OA meeting. It was the third week of February in 1991. And when I went into that room, everything started to change from then on. I heard people talking about loving food the way that I loved food, eating food the way that I ate food, all kinds of crazy stuff that they did with food that I did. And, you know, eating things that were meant to be cooked and hot, you know, just like frozen out of the refrigerator, freezer, and I just couldn't believe it, because even though I had overeaters in my family, my father was my prime example of an overeater. He never understood when I said, you know, there's something really wrong with me. And I mean, I was so introspective and so full of self-hate. He didn't understand that, you know, and I would say I'm different than other people. And both my mom and my dad would listen to me and say, well, everybody's different than everybody else, sweetheart. And I said, no, but there's something wrong. Because I knew. I mean, it wasn't just like I just had everything in my life was going great and I had an eating problem. This was, there was something really wrong. And I felt out of place, out of step with the world, just like the Welcome to OA reading says. You know, have you ever felt out of step with the world, like a homeless orphan that didn't belong? You know, welcome to OA, welcome home. Well, that was me. But when I walked into that room for the first time in my life, and even though I came from a very loving family, I really felt like I fit in. It was the first time that I was in touch with other people that also had all kinds of, you know, trouble dealing with feelings and just expressing things that I never heard anywhere. The honesty just blew me away, and it still does to this day. People put words to things that I never had words for, anyways, I was hooked. I got a sponsor in like that first month. And back then we used to do what are called step-ups. So like when you were working with a sponsor and you got at least 30 days of abstinence, the sponsor would step you up, meaning you would stand up and the sponsor would introduce you to the group and say, you know, well, in my case, okay, you know, Glenn is now an available sponsor. So that's what the step up was all about. It was about you're now recognized as an available sponsor. And so, and I just did what they said to do. You know, after they said get a sponsor and doing that, I started following the steps. And I remember being around for maybe like 5-6 months, and after feeling like just like so at home, I started feeling like I was a little bit separate from the program. And what I realized was it was because I heard people talking about having done a 4th and a 5th step, and I hadn't done it, at least not at that time. And so I started on my 4th step, and I got all perfectionistic about which way to do it, you know, following the steps in the questions in the OA step book, or the big book method, or, I mean, I think someone gave me a 4-step inventory guide from maybe, you know, one of these outside companies. I think someone else gave me one, and I kept, like, I was taking a survey of all these different people, you know, saying, well, how did you do your 4-step? And I got myself so mixed up in my head. And my therapist finally said, look, just do this and keep it real simple. And okay, so I did that, and I followed it. And I 5th stepped it away to the therapist, but it was really like a real simple thing and really light and on the surface, but it got me unstuck. And then I said, you know what, I'm going to go right into doing another 4-step, a real heavy duty, you know, in-depth one. And I did that. And then I did that. I did a 5th step with my sponsor, and that's when I started feeling like I was really a part. Okay, thank you. That's when I felt like I was really feeling like I was a part of the program after I completed the 4th and the 5th step. at least my first one. And I went about making amends. I even faced situations where I thought I was going to go to jail for. And I was willing to go to any lengths because, man, my food addiction, my compulsive overeating just destroyed my life. I mean, it took away everything. And I wanted nothing more than to get better. So I was willing to go to any lengths, and I faced everything that I could. And, you know, I mean, so far, you know, after just about 30 years, this week I've been in program 30 years. And next month, 1 month from today, the 31st of March, I'll have 30 years of abstinence. And it's been a heck of a ride. And man, I'll tell you what, the food was just a symptom. I mean, and everything, so many things in my life have just changed. I mean, about me and how I approach the world, and life is it's just miles apart from the way it used to be. And I like living today. I love to live. And back then I wanted to end my life because life was too painful to hang around and deal with. And I didn't think there was any solution. I didn't have any hope. And that first meeting gave me hope, and I kept going and kept the hope, and still in OA. And I like to say I plan to grow old in OA. Well, I'm getting there. I came in at 25, and now I'm 55. So I'm working on it. So anyways, I think that's everything that I've got. And I really appreciate the opportunity to speak. I kind of sort of got myself into a little bit of a pickle. I forgot at the last minute that I was supposed to speak, and so I wasn't able to have my video on. But I'm sure glad to be a part of Overeaters Anonymous, man. This thing it's saved my life, and it continues to save my life every day. And I try to do what I can to get back. And do appreciate the opportunity to speak tonight. So thank you very much.